You become a sloppy cleaner. There was dust in the corner, you know. You are a housewife, so you'd better get it together. If there is still dust next time I look at it, I will sell your computer.
As my work as a cartoonist increased, my husband began giving me the cold shoulder. When I was busy with deadlines, he would harass me, get very specific about chores, and there were times when he'd make me redo the cleaning. It seems that my husband expects me to be the perfect housewife, but being a cartoonist is what I have dreamed of since I was a child. I don't want to give up now. Moreover, my husband seems to be hiding something from me. I have no intention of forgiving him. I am Nina, 31 years old. I am a freelance comic artist. I draw stuff such as serial comics, and I'm also a housewife who works hard in between housework. I have a 35-year-old husband, Todd. We registered our marriage 6 years ago with a promise that I would become a full-time housewife. In our second year of marriage, my parents passed away. I was their only daughter, and my husband and I lived together in the house I inherited. I didn't want to quit my comic book business, which I had been doing since I was a student. I could be a full-time housewife, but my dream is to make a living from my comics. Right now, I only publish fun comics. Will you allow me to work from home? I pleaded with Todd.
It's like a hobby, right? Well, it should be okay, right?
I continued to draw comics long after our marriage. However, 6 months ago, a comic I had published on my website caught the eye of a magazine editor, so I was able to get a 2-page 4-panel comic published in a monthly magazine. After that, I started getting calls from other magazines, so I got busy writing and illustrating comics every day. But when I told Todd about it, he gave me a look of obvious displeasure.
You've been on a roll lately, haven't you? You're just a shut-in whose main job is housework. Your comic books are just for fun, aren't they? Even your salary is just as big as kids' allowance, isn't it?
Why do you say that? Todd, you don't read comics, so I know you don't like them, but I've always dreamed of being a cartoonist. Sure, it's a small job, but I'm getting paid, so I'm a professional. So you shouldn't say things like that. But when I countered, Todd became even grumpier.
How can you talk so big when I'm the one who feeds you? If you have a problem with me, wait until you make more money than me.
I had nothing to say back. I depend on him, so I don't have that much work, and it's often around $600 a month. And Todd would only come to me when I was busy with deadlines.
You've become a sloppy cleaner. There's dust in the corner, you know. You are a housewife, so you'd better get it together. Next time I look at it, if there is still dust on it, I will sell your computer.
I knew he didn't mean it, but I was scared. In the end, I spent so much time cleaning that I missed deadlines. Todd seems to get irritated when he sees me being so busy, so he'd point out even the smallest household chores, which was annoying. One day, Todd came home from work at night. He has a habit of eating dinner as soon as he gets home from work. That day, as usual, the moment he sat down and put some simmered vegetable in his mouth, he shouted angrily from the kitchen.
Hey, what the hell? The radish is not cooked all the way through. Are you kidding me? Is this what you serve your husband when he comes home tired?
I was in a daze after making the deadline, but his yelling startled me. I turned to Todd. At that moment, Todd took the glass of beer in front of him and spilled it on me. My mind went blank. I had never imagined that someone would pour beer on me in my entire life. It came as a big shock to me. Oh, I'm sorry. I must have been in a daze while I was cooking. I'm sure everything else is fine, so you can leave the radish out. During the cooking, I realized that I had somehow forgotten to add the radish, and in my haste, I had dropped it into the stew without even boiling it. I made sure the potatoes were cooked all the way through, but I completely forgot about the radish. I usually don't make such mistakes, but I felt ashamed of myself. It seems Todd couldn't forgive the mistake any more than I thought he could.
It's terrible that I got a wife who can't even do her own housework. I should never have married you.
Todd got up from his seat and started to leave the dining room. I hurriedly followed him, and he went to his bedroom. Where are you going?
I'm leaving home until you're sorry.
What? I was stunned, not understanding what he meant. Todd packed his travel bag and really left the house. I chased after him, and when Todd arrived at the nearest station, he got into a cab and went away. I tried to call him several times, but he didn't pick up. And even though I sent him an apology through WhatsApp, he wouldn't even read it. I fell into a heap on the spot and sobbed. Then I received a tap on the shoulder. I turned around, and Mr. Smith, Todd's boss, was standing there. I used to work for the same company as Todd until we got married. Mr. Smith was also my boss, and he was very enthusiastic about my education when I first joined the company. Mr. Smith.
I become a section chief, you know. It's been a long time since your wedding, right? Why are you crying? You reek of alcohol. Did you go out drinking in your apron?
Oh, it's been a long time. I'm so embarrassed to say this, but Todd and I had a fight.
Oh, he's got a way of talking down to you sometimes, doesn't he? You can still put up with it if it's just an occasional annoyance at work. But when you are married and living together, he's going to get on your nerve.
Mr. Smith turned a bright smile on me as he said that. How many times has his smile saved me when I made a mistake at work in the past? Mr. Smith and I decided to go to a nearby family restaurant and talk for a while.
So, why were you crying? Were you a crier?
It's my fault. I messed up cooking today. I made a stew, and only the radish was undercooked, so it made Todd angry.
Oh, really? My wife is like that too. At times like those, what happens? It can't be helped, so I think it's not good to get angry, because it only tears us apart, you know?
That's a good idea.
So you two didn't go out for a drink and had a fight?
No, I reek of alcohol because Todd got mad at my cooking and spilled beer on me. I think it's dried up when I ran to the station. I still smell, don't I? I sniffed my clothes. I was told that I smelled of alcohol, but I couldn't really tell for myself.
He spilled beer on you just because you messed up your cooking? Usually? Isn't there something wrong with Todd? I thought he was a creep, but I can't believe he'd do that to his wife. I can't believe it.
Mr. Smith was really angry, as if he himself had been doused with beer. It made me kind of happy.
So why did you come to the station? You came all the way out here in your apron. Is that about Todd again?
Yes, it's because Todd was acting strange. He called me a shut-in wife and said he was going to leave the house until I felt sorry for myself. I followed him and got to the station, but Todd got into a cab and went away. I was at a loss.
What?
Mr. Smith's face, which had been angry until then, suddenly became tense. After a moment of silence,
I can't tell you now, but I have a bad feeling about this, so I'm going to look into Todd too. He might have left something at home, so maybe you should look into it.
I nodded, not knowing why, but without fully understanding. We called it a day, and Mrs. Smith dropped me off at home. As Mr. Smith had told me, I looked at the shelves Todd often used, and I went through Todd's clothes. From inside the pocket of his pants, I found a hotel loyalty card. He used it quite recently, and the card showed a history of use around noon on Saturday, when he said he was working on his day off. I was convinced that Todd was cheating on me. And then I remembered something that I hadn't remembered for a long time. That was before we were married. When one of us lost a phone, we had talked about how good it would be if we could use each other's phones to find others using GPS. We both did a lot of research and had completely forgotten that we had installed an app that specialized in finding a device. We launched the app, put in the password, and Todd found his phone in a surprising place. It was a famous tourist spot. It was also a famous date spot, so it was hard to believe that he would go there alone. I decided to move, assuming that Todd was probably on a trip with his cheating partner. The next day, I called the company and asked for Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, thank you for yesterday.
It's nothing. Did something come up?
Could it be that Todd didn't come to work today? Mr. Smith didn't say anything for a while, but after a heavy exhale,
Oh yes. He had requested for vacation with pay for 4 days starting today.
I knew it.
I hate to say it, but he's probably...
I know, but now I feel much better. Thank you. After hanging up the phone, I made a decision and left home. I had been thinking about it for a long time. If Todd betrayed me, I would do this. After finishing that errand, I then called someone. Hello, it's been a while. The person on the other end of the line sounded cheerful to me, but once I told him about Todd, he immediately took my side. I hung up the phone relieved. I was sure things would turn out for the better. The next day, I went with some people to a place where the GPS on Todd's phone pointed us. It's inside a resort hotel near a famous tourist spot. Right now, he seems to be outside the hotel because the GPS showed that he was on a nearby beach. The moment Todd saw my face, he turned pale. With a smile on my face, I pointed my phone at Todd and took a series of pictures with the camera. I wanted to get a two-shot of him and the girl beside him, who was about in her early 20s. By the way, 30 minutes earlier, Todd was in a bikini with that girl. I was able to take pictures of the time Todd was applying sun oil to that woman. I let them swim until I had conclusive evidence that Todd was cheating on me. The two of them were so liberated that maybe they were out of their minds because they were kissing in public. I was not shocked at all, probably because I had already had enough of the affair. I was rather grateful to them for presenting good evidence. Todd was surprised, and the reason his face was pale was not only because he saw my face. Behind me were my in-laws. They were both giving Todd a hard look. What are you doing, Todd? I approached him with a smile, and either he panicked or his feet got caught in the sand and he fell on his butt. Seeing this, my mother-in-law let out a sigh. Todd, you're so pathetic. Who is this girl? What are you doing leaving your wife alone?
Because she doesn't do the housework at all.
Todd was flustered, but he pointed a finger at me and accused me.
Oh, really? You're wrong in saying that she doesn't do everything, right? Even if she skipped cleaning sometimes, she still did the laundry, cooking, and dishes every day, right? Mom skips cleaning sometimes too. I don't even like to do the laundry, and sometimes I leave it to Dad. That's because you work part-time, right? She's different. She's a housewife who just draws and plays. So why can't she at least do the housework properly?
Todd's words made my father-in-law furious.
You don't understand anything.
Even the people around us were looking at us in surprise. Some of them seemed to be pointing their cell phone cameras at us. In the meantime, why don't we discuss this in a proper place? Everyone nodded at my suggestion, and my in-laws and I went into a nearby restaurant first. Todd and his affair partner Mitch changed from their swimsuits into plain clothes, and then The five of us met face to face. We began by listening to Todd's side of the story.
I wanted Nina to be a full-time housewife, but she started a stupid hobby like drawing comics and neglected her housework. I told her repeatedly, but she wouldn't do what I told her to do. So it's only natural for me to start looking for my next potential wife.
Then Mitch countered him. What? Isn't that different from what you were saying to me? You had a stalker in your house and you were in trouble. So you said you wanted me to forget that unpleasant reality for a while. When I said, why don't you tell the police, you said it's only a matter of time before the police catches the stalker. If you had a wife, you shouldn't have dated me. Mitch started crying after she said that. Apparently, she was still a college student, and she met Todd on a dating app. She said she was attracted to mature men and ended up going out with him, but lamented that she got fooled. I'm sorry, I will never contact Todd again. I will consider it a learning experience and won't be fooled next time. After bowing deeply to me and my in-laws, Mitch showed them the screen where she had deleted Todd's number. Then she put her money on the table and walked away. I glared at Todd, who was flustered at Mitch's disappearance. It's only natural that I wouldn't do as you asked, right? I have feelings and circumstances too. I'm not a robot for you to control. It's disgusting to cheat on me just because things don't work out. Todd wanted to say something, but my father-in-law spoke up first.
You still don't seem happy about it, do you? I'm the one who earns the money to feed Nina, so she should respect me, right?
Matthew spoke calmly to Todd, whose body trembling with anger.
You're still like a child. You're no different from a toddler who is just begging for something because things won't go his way. You must accept Nina's wishes as they are. There's nothing more we can say to you.
The in-laws stood up and headed for a cash register with the bill. Todd and I were left alone. I had nothing more to say to him either. Todd, I got a series in a comic magazine. Todd looked at me with a scared look on his face.
Congratulations.
I can't be the housewife you want anymore. I'm sorry. I'm tired of being with you. I want us to get separated.
I'm sorry. You can draw as many comic books as you want, and I will help you with the housework. I won't say anything arrogant to you anymore.
Todd pleaded with tears in his eyes, but I looked away from him. I didn't want to see any more of the pathetic figure of the man who used to be my husband. I'm sorry, but it's not about that anymore. You looked down on me, didn't you? I thought we were on equal footing as husband and wife, but you are different. You thought you were in a better position because you worked to support me.
No, you might have been right. I've changed my mind. I promise I won't give you a hard time anymore. So don't say you're breaking up with me.
I've decided to sell the house we lived in. I have a relative who runs a real estate agency. I told him about the situation, and he agreed to buy it right away. But we still have some formalities to do, so it can't be sold immediately. I heard that the price will be lower than what I can get through an intermediary. But it's my house, and I can do what I want with it. So I want to cut ties with you as soon as possible. I'm going to leave tomorrow. I want you to get out that house as soon as possible. With that, I got up from my seat and started working toward the exit. It was the opposite of that day when Todd left the house, because now it's him who followed me frantically as if he was chasing after me. But as I got into the car my in-laws had, my father-in-law, who's sitting in the driver's seat, started the car as soon as I slammed the door shut. Todd chased after me in the back, crying, but I couldn't see him anymore. Then, it seems that he didn't believe a word I said, because when he came home from his trip, He saw that all my personal belongings were gone. He called me in tears. I answered the phone as a last act of mercy.
Why did you sell it? It's our house, right?
Funny thing to say, isn't it? I inherited this house from my parents.
Even so, I should have a right to it.
You have no rights whatsoever to my inheritance. If you understand that, then get the hell out of my house. And as for alimony and divorce, you will be hearing from my lawyer, so don't run away, okay? I said what I wanted to say and hung up the phone. Since then, Todd was scolded by Mr. Smith for taking time off his pay to go on a trip with his mistress, I heard. He didn't need a reason to use his paid time off, but the fact that he betrayed me, his wife, and took off was something he got severely questioned about. He is now being looked at with cold eyes by his colleagues at work and living an uncomfortable life. My parents-in-law also gave up on him. Todd tried to go back to his parents' house, but they refused. Todd lost money due to alimony payment, got sunk in debt, and is living a rough life alone in a cheap apartment, unable to do much housework. Later, Mr. Smith told me about it, but I didn't feel anything. As for me, I moved into a beautiful one-room apartment, and I'm busy working on a plot for my comic series. I'm researching omnibus format works by various people and using them as a reference. The next story I'm going to draw is about husband's infidelity, so I'm thinking of using Todd as the subject.